If you've been wondering how you can make alternative income using real estate, you are at the right place and welcome. And my good friend, if we are meeting for the very first time, well, I am the founder here at the TJ Tribe, and I have been doing this business myself of buying real estate, particularly to rent out to families, to student accommodation, and also I do what we call flips. Our weekend videos, which are generally a little bit longer, are full of real life teachings of recent projects done with people like me and you, and we do this so that you can be able to learn from them. So I'm excited that in today's video, lean in. Yep, I do say that because it's full of value in it. So if you have to replay, my good friends, please do that. And above that, if you have any questions, whatever questions that you might have, there's no question here at the TJ Tribe that is dumb, or don't be shy to add in a question in the comments below. Please ask your questions, and together we can be able to learn. And that's what the TJ Tribe is all about. Iron sharpening iron from wherever you are, right here at the TJ Tribe. My friend, let's go.
And I hope with sharing my story that we continue to learn. And I think the power always lies in us learning, but then also sharing our experiences with each other, and never take it for granted that we can learn from each other. And yeah, with that being said, I'm just going to put up my presentation so I can share with you. Thank you, team. I think what is important and what I want to share today is really about my first year's reflection on my property, the property journey. I think, as we know in the TJ Tribe, we always start with our wins. And it's glad to see that the common thread from yesterday and in today continues, because I think we all recognize God's grace and God's presence in all of this is so important. So for me, I always start with that. I'm alive and healthy through God's grace, and we need to not take these things for granted. And so that's why I always start by celebrating Him. I think the second point is a very critical point for me, and learning from the experience from the Jensen family. It sounds like everybody took some valuable lessons out of that. I think for me, it's so critical as we go through this journey that we get the balance right in terms of making money, but at the same time still keeping our family structures in place. I think the one key that's always very top of mind for me as I go through this journey is that I don't want to make money and in the process lose my family. And in all of the planning that I put, the family needs to be part of this planning. And later on in my presentation, you'll see how I intend sharing and keeping the family in the loop as well. Another important win for me was that the property was ready in January. Although we started very late, we still managed to get the property up and running. We all talk about our experiences, the ups and the downs. When I started in February, I was sitting at zero. But through the My Student House property management, they got my student accommodation filled, and it was running on 96% occupancy for the entire year, not 100%. And I think based on that, we'll take the learnings from the 96% occupancy rate, see what happened, see what were some of the challenges, so that we can improve that occupancy rate as well. Another key critical component is most of my debts that I've incurred from the property. I've managed to sort that out. And so for me, that's a very big win, because now I need to unlock some of that credit again so that I can potentially look at how do I then move on to investing into the second property. Then my rezoning is in progress. Started at the beginning of May. And in September, went through the process of making it publicly available to see if we get no objections. So I'm pleased to inform you guys that, you know, this is a very big win for me, because what I understand from this is that people within the property market, this is one area where you can get a lot of stumbling blocks. And I think, again, through God's grace, I went through this process with no objections. Then I'm really looking forward to reaping the property returns in 2025. As I indicated, there was a lot of investment that I still needed to do for this year. And I think what was quite key for me is that the funds that I got from the property, what was critical for me is to reinvest it into the property to make sure that the property is up and running, so that my intake for 2025 can sit at full capacity. So, and these are some of the key principles that we learn from this, from TJ's Academy, is that you also need to reap and plug back into your investment. And so that is one of the things that I started doing as well this year as well. And yes, a bit of good news as well is looking at the student uptake for 2025. We're already sitting on 10 students that have signed up for 2025. So yeah, team, that's my wins for this year. I'm just going to go through, and after this, I'll also just pause just to see if there's any questions. So one of the things that I've been asked to do was to share as well, you know, with what I know now, what could I have done earlier to invest in my journey? I think one of the key things that came out for me is that I could have set clearer investment goals as well. With the limited knowledge in terms of, as I went into this journey with only having one property, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. But now that I've got a full year's experience, it helps me to be able to be critical in terms of my planning as well, making sure that I understand my short-term plans, my short-term goals versus my long-term plans as well. And what I basically mean by this is that how many properties do I want to invest on an annual basis? What are the parameters that I set? What are some of the cash flows that I want to achieve out of these properties as well? And I think what is really important is that when we set these, let us also make sure we achieve them. And I think for me, going into 2025, I want to brutally be honest in terms of making sure that this becomes a reality. Then the second priority for me is leveraging financial strategies as well. And I'm going to go in a bit more detail in the slides to follow, where I believe these are some of the strategies that's going to help me into 2025 as well. One critical important thing is what I've also noticed is, you know, we all say knowledge, and I think that's why we attend these sessions as well. So expand our knowledge through networking as well. I think this is something that I always put high on my agenda list as well, is really just to engage with senior and seasoned investors as well, so that we can accelerate our learning curve as well. One thing that I know is that I don't know everything. And in order to reach my goals, I need to surround me with the right people as well, with the right networking forums, with the right communities as well. And through this, I'll be able to achieve my goals much sooner. So what could I have done differently on this deal? Me personally, I would say nothing. And it's not nothing to say being arrogant about this. But the one thing that I take from this is that through this process and through all the mistakes that I've gone through, I wouldn't change anything. Because through these mistakes, I've been able to learn from them, and I'll make sure that I'll never repeat them going forward. But one thing, I guess, and I say all, I include myself here as well. I think what is key critical for us from this group is that we all need to master this year. And it basically goes down. A smart man makes mistakes and learns from it and never makes them again. But a wise man finds a smart man, learns from him, and in order to avoid this mistake as well. So I think over this past weekend, a lot of knowledge was shared. I think what is critical for us as part of the process as we learn, let's apply these teachings as well. Let us not wait to make these mistakes ourselves. And this is something that is very top of mind as well going into next year as well. We went through this process. I went through this process this year. I made a lot of mistakes. But what is critical for me going forward is to make sure that I never repeat these mistakes. But then also when we speak to our networking circles, let us make sure we learn from those the learnings and apply it. It is key critical that we get this right. So if I reflect and look at the past year, what I can confidently say is that I've gained a lot of experience and built expertise in the property landscape. I'm not there yet, but I'm continuing to learning. What I also learned from this is that through this investment, I'm able to build cash flow and a passive income. And that then also ultimately leads me to fulfill my dreams of building a property portfolio. Secondly, being a market researcher, I'm always looking out to expand my market knowledge and really trying to understand what are the students looking. Because I'm in the student accommodation space, I need to understand what they most value. And some of the things that I've learned is they're always looking forward to high-speed internet, study areas, and safe communal spaces. And I take this and I say, okay, what do I now need to do within my property to make sure that I create a safe communal space for these students as well? And so with that, it then also, the knowledge then also allows me to then, gives me the ability to scale, knowing that what the students know. So that means that in any marketing that we do, I can use this as a key attribute for me, because I know, and making sure that my occupancy is always at 100%. These are the elements that I need to look at. Then I think key critical, as I spoke to before, is really just to continue networking, connecting with real estate agents, connecting with property managers, connecting with community forums like this one, and I do believe that this session will open doors to better deals. It will open doors for partnerships, and it will also open doors where we gain a valuable advice as well through the process as we learn and grow. Then in terms of what I'm proud of is, as I've mentioned, there's numerous upgrades that I'm doing on the property. And with this is that by investing in my property, I increase the property value. And in this way, I look forward to then having a sustainable growth, and my investment works for me. I think what is so critical for me is that if my place is well looked after and well maintained, it visually gives a good reputation from the outside that this property is being well maintained. And through that, if a property is well maintained and well looked after, I do believe that my occupancy will always stay at 95% to 100%, because people feel that through this, they're being looked after. So team, what can I share with you in terms of what has been the big lessons for me? One is really to prioritize ruthlessly. You know, what is key is we need to decide what needs our most attention. And that's purely because we cannot do everything. Having a focused approach means that you can get through things quicker as well. Just being all over the place, you just not you don't get to your end goal as well. So for me, critical is that prioritize ruthlessly. Secondly, let us stick to our routines. There's a quote that I read. It says here, discipline trumps passion. I think I cannot overemphasize this. Discipline trumps passion. Making sure that we stick to those routines. It is painful sometimes to make sure that you get up early and making sure that you do that consistently as well. But if we really want to achieve our goals, this is what we need to be passionate about, to make sure that we get up and we stick to that, because that then gives you the ability to plan for your day as well. And that means that you then get into a culture of getting things done. The third thing is, let us learn to say no. I think too often, by trying to look at different areas of getting involved in business and with no focus plan, is a lot of distractions as well. My advice is, let us not get involved with too many things, but let us be more focused so that we can stay focused and not be distracted. Then fourthly is really for us to in order, we all set our yearly plans, we all set our 90-day plans and our 30-day plans. And sometimes even I fail at this as well. But what I've started to do is to kind of change that behavior as well. And how I started changing that behavior is, now I start looking at it on a daily basis. Look at some of the priorities, look at some of the stuff that we need to do for the day as well. And make sure that all your urgent and top priorities are listed. Make sure that you complete this. And I think what this gives you, it gives you the ability and a sense of accomplishment as well. As you go through this exercise and as you complete the stuff on your to-do list, it really gives you a sense of accomplishment. And I think it's such an important thing, because when you're in the right mindset and in the right space, you can achieve much more as well. And then based on what you set and plan for the day, it's also important that you start reviewing and looking at the week that has passed. What did you achieve? What didn't you achieve? What can you adjust as well? Because based on doing this, you get better every single week. And this practice, I started practicing for the past month. And I must say that I'm starting to get through a lot more tasks now with this focused approach. So in my earlier slide, I talked about leveraging financial strategies as well. And I'd like to share, because these are some of, in my conversations with TJ and reading a bit more about this as well, this is what I believe I'm going to take into next year and make sure that I implement this much better. Is really important. How can I leverage financial strategies? We all not very fortunate in terms of having cash on hand. We have had no inheritance. So what we really need to do, and what I personally need to do, is to leverage on what I have at my disposal. And these are some of the strategies that I'm going to look at and make sure that I go and take this into next year. Is really to kind of access equity from my existing properties. I think we're all in the property space market. We know that our property value increases. So for me, it's really about understanding what can I then tap into there to make sure that I can get access to funds, so that I can then use those extra funds to start growing my portfolio. The second is that, as we know, any additional amount that we put into our bonds as well, we can then also tap that into and see what's available as well. But what is key for me is, into next year, is that I am going to start strongly looking at partnering with other investors. So look at co-investing, because I do believe if I go on this journey, it will take me much longer to reach those goals. And a key critical thing for me is then to partner with others, just so that we can pull larger and multiple properties together. So that's a key element for me that I'd like to take into next year. And then I've also gathered from some of the experience from yesterday's session, is I'm also looking at continuing to research what are some of the tax benefits that I can tap into. And obviously with the aim of allowing more funds that I can then use to reinvest. All good?
All good.
Thanks. So one of the questions and part of my presentation was really about family. What are some of the family lessons that we can take? And what is my role as the father as part of this family? So I'd like to kind of share this with you as well. It's been from a recent sermon that was preached on family matters. These are some of the learnings that I took from that session. One, I think it's always important that we make each one within our family feel that they are the number one priority. Not the family as the collective, but the family individual. Every single person, you need to, as the father figure role, I need to make sure that I play the right role as a husband. I need to then play the right role as a father as well. The moment I understand what my role and what my priority is, I start building a better relationship with my wife and my kids as well. So that was critical in terms of understanding from a family dynamics. Then secondly, what is important to know is that it's critical that you understand when you say yes to someone or something, it means no to someone or something else as well. And this is, we all know that our time is very limited as well. And all we can do is to prioritize that to the best of our ability as well. And we know that we will not always get it right. But I think what is key and what is critical for us is to manage that tension of time. One of the advice that the pastor shared with us is, in all of this, the key is that don't try try not to drop the ball, the same ball twice. And I think that's a critical lesson. I think for me, out of the entire sermon that I could take from that, is this point here, is really for us not to drop the same ball twice. And that's a lesson that I take from that sermon, and will then make sure that I apply it, and wherever possible is to kind of share that as well.
I apologize for disrupting this hot conversation, but I just wanted to make sure that I remind you of why we exist here at the TJ Tribe. My good friends, it is our mission here at the TJ Tribe to ensure that every modern family earns what we call alternative income using real estate. And if that is you, you've been wondering how you can start or how you can scale, I have a solution for you. The solution is simply visit our website. You'll see it coming through here, and the website is www.thetjtribe.com, and click on where it says book your discovery call. When you do that, actually, my friends, it does not cost you anything at all to book that slot. So no strings attached. Jump onto that website, and either myself or one of my team members will be able to help you on your next steps. So don't be that family, the one that is being left out in creating alternative income. Because from creating alternative income, that's when you can be able to create wealth a little bit later. And above that, that's when you can be able to create what we call legacy. So what are you waiting for? If you're not going to do it for yourself, I suggest that you do it for your family. You do it for the next generation. People that you might not be able to see, your relatives that you might not be able to see today, but because of what you are building today, they'll be able to say, Grandpa so and so, he built this. So this is what I'm inviting you to say, we can help you. So what are you waiting for? Jump on our website and we will engage with you on the call. Let's go back to our video.
So, staying on the family topic as well, I think one of the key critical things for me is, how do I build and plan to leave a legacy? And leaving a legacy is not by me just investing in the properties, handing it over to my kids eventually or to family, and then over the years, that investment then falls flat. So these are some of the elements that I am going to implement, and hopefully these are some of the lessons that you can take as well. One of the key critical things is my wife has been very supportive of this. My eldest son has shown great interest in managing properties and in property in property investment. So I think for me, 1 year has passed now. In order to start building and transferring that knowledge, the key is for me now to then hand over that first property with guidance and support, so that I can then start focusing on the second property. Doing it this way, it allows me to transfer the skills that I've gained over the past year to a family member. And in this way, the knowledge then transfer from one person to the next. And I believe for me, these are some of the critical success factors that we need to look at when we say we're building a legacy as well. That is twofold. One, they feel that they're involved, but secondly is the most important thing is time. How to manage my time better as well. By handing this over, it now frees up time so that I can then focus on my second property and then looking at how I can diversify my property portfolio. Some of the as I was preparing for this presentation, I also then started to look and search the net in terms of, well, how can you leave a proper legacy? And these are some of the things that I've kind of come up with as well, is really also just to create a family investment fund, where each family member can actually contribute to this fund as well. What I'm thinking of doing is to use those funds to do property upgrades and eventually maybe to look at future investments as well. But what is critical for me as I do this as part of the legacy project is, well, by involving the family members, it also then gives them the opportunity to kind of see, when you place your and create an investment fund, it's for them then also to understand the impact of pooled resources over time. It is so critical, as we've indicated, that as an individual, I can only do so much. But once you understand the power of bringing people on board, partnerships on board, you then realize what this can then have and the impact this can have over time as well. And then hopefully is then also into the future is then also to look at joint ventures with the kids as well. Is really also for them, based on the learnings that they'll get from this, is then for them to then also look and grow and invest into properties as well. That way they get first-hand experience with guidance and support from the learnings that I built over the years. So, would I do this again? I would say absolutely yes. Especially with all the experience that I've gained over the past year. Property investment has been, and it's only been a year, is allowing me to build long-term assets and to create some source of income so that that can grow over time as well. And with my property portfolio being in student accommodation, I fully understand it has a lot of challenges, but there also is the reward in terms of having strong potential for consistency cash flow as well. So in closing, yes, I would absolutely do this again. But what is key now is that I can even do this with more clarity and confidence as well. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time. And I hope I've been able and useful to kind of share some tips with you around this. Thank you, team.
Gerard, thanks a lot on your presentation and your reflections for your first year on your first deal. Any questions from anybody based on what Gerard has shared? I've got a few questions. We're gonna go to Sizile and Hotsabamang thereafter. Go for it, brother.
I've been following you on the YouTube. I saw your consistency, your due diligence. Thanks a lot for being such a kind of an entrepreneur. I wanted to find out from your side, how do you approach the banks, the challenges that you face when approaching the banks with financing? Are they starting to look at you as a property investor, or they are still looking for your day-to-day work? Like in my case, I'm a medical doctor. When I go to the bank when I approach them with my property portfolio, they always say, no, we also want your practice financials. When I give them the the practice financials, then they say, no, now we'll consider you. And then, but we want you to be part of our clients in our bank. So I ended up being in a private banking for all the banks like Absa, Nedbank, FNB, and their private client. So are you having such challenges when you're approaching the bank? Are they looking at you as a property investor, or are they looking at as Gerald, the medical practitioner, the plumber, or the painter? things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gerald.
Thanks for the question, Doctor. I think we all face very similar challenges. I think at this point in time, they still see me, Gerard, in my personal and work capacity. With that being said, I do own a market research company in partnership with another colleague, and at the moment, I've kind of leveraged on that to get into the property space as well. But I think some of the key strategies, and I know financial institutions are very tricky. And I think for me, how to overcome that is then don't put all your eggs into one basket. Go to multiple different banks as well. Maybe to give further context, I bank with ABSA. The property that I bought wasn't financed by ABSA. It was financed by a completely new bank, which I didn't even think they would consider me. So for me, the strategy always needs to be multifold as well. Don't look at one bank in isolation as well. Try and tap into multiple institutions and see how best you can leverage from that.
Okay, cool. If I may throw in my 2 cents around that one, Suzile, as an early investor, you hear me throw this name around quite a lot. We fall within the space that is called the no man's land for many lenders. You are too heavy for personal banking, and you are too thin for business banking, right? So you're basically in the no man's land. Right, navigating the no man's land, it takes skill and creativity of how best can you utilize the personal side so that your business can just be at a X level, so that the business banking can start now to recognize you. I would say utilize any resources from a lending perspective that will be thrown at you. Exhaust all of that, but quickly start to think how best you can consolidate. So what do I mean by that? ABSA, we did an exercise a while ago in one of our coaching calls, and I said, guys, go and understand what the banks are offering. Banks have different offerings, different products. Some banks, they are heavy on the entrepreneur. Some banks, Capitec as an example, they only introduced home loans recently, so they don't understand it. So don't bother going there. But for home loans, if you're in the game of home loans, go to ABSA. They understand it. They now have 3 second to third tiers of different types of home loans. So with that, once you start engaging your personal banker, try to see who else from the product can you engage, right? Somebody who can now look at your entire portfolio, present yourself to say, this is what I do, so that the bank can start to understand you. Guys, there is so many products in the banking system that your personal banker might not know. Some products, they are in existence, but are not active, right? So which means that if that product is not being marketed harshly or vigorously, your personal banker, if he's new to that bank, he might not even know about it. But if you're talking to the guys in products for home loan, they can then be able to say, oh, we can give you this. So take time in understanding, number one, the different banks, your bank, the service offerings in terms of the product that you're looking for, lending, that is. Then thirdly, let's also make sure that our structure is good. And it's very easy to explain to the next person. How are we making money? How can the bank get its security? And I want to put a disclaimer. I'm in it now for almost 10 years. There is no bank that is not asking me for a guarantee, for surety. All of them, they're still asking me for surety up until the stage. So I hope that makes sense, Cecilia. Okay, good. Well, I am sure that you've been writing so many notes on this one. And I'm sure you probably have pages and pages of just the learnings that we got in today's video. So well done in learning with us. And my friends, this is just the start. We have more learnings to help you on your journey of building alternative income. And my team and I, we want to help you, but we cannot help you if we don't know who you are, where you are on your journey, right? So help me so that I can be able to help you. By doing that, all you need to do is just jump onto our website. You'll see it comes up here, www.thetjtribe.com. And all you need to do is to click on the link that says Discovery Call, book my slot for Discovery Call. And we will guide you on the next steps of how best you can be able to learn more. What you learned today is probably maybe about just maybe like a fraction of what we teach here at the TJ Tribe. So let me help you, but I can't help you if I don't know who you are. And I can't help you if I don't know where you are in your journey. I am eager to help you to make this year, or to rather guide you so that this year can become your best year ever in real estate. But above that, thanks for watching. And if you have to send this to someone else, please do that. Don't forget to share. And if you have commented, hey, we will check you out in the comments again. But don't forget to book that call. It is essential for your generation. It is essential for you creating an alternative income. And we want to help you. It is I, TJ.